Hi, today I'm going to show you how to assemble the Christmas tree box. To start, we want to cut out all the pieces, and I'm just showing you how to fold that top piece on the scores. Now I do have a machine that does kind of like a little cut, makes it easier to score, but you may need to use like a bone tool or something to get the crisp edges. And if you use dash lines, it'll fold pretty easily. And this is the start of the edge of the top of the tree. So you want to fold it on all those scores. And those little scores right there in the middle, it just helps to bend it when you put it, assemble it later. So we'll continue with the rest of the edge of that top. And once it's all scored, we'll just put it aside for a second, and we'll get the panels for the top. It is easier to add the panels prior to assembling, but it's up to you. You can do whatever you like. The way I put it on here is leave space on the top, right and left of the panel, but that bottom edge of the panel, which is not easily seen in the shot, will line up exactly with the edge. It's just the way that I did the design. There you go. And then we'll continue to add them until all the panels are on there. Kind of fast forwarded here in a second, so you didn't have to watch the painful, slow process of putting all the panels on. I'm slow at putting them on because I want to be so precise. Once we get this last panel on, we will attach that edge piece that kind of goes onto the bottom edge of that the top peak of the Christmas tree. But first we want to attach the other piece of the edge. So we cut it separately, so add glue to that little tab, and then line up that other edge with the tab fold. And apply pressure, make sure it's secure before you move on. So what we'll start with is gluing this edge piece on now. So go ahead and add glue to that first tab, and then align the edge of that top piece to the tab fold, and just apply pressure to secure it. So we'll do this along the entire edge of the top of the tree, and we did keep it open so it'd be easy to reach in and apply pressure with all the tabs. So this we'll just continue to glue each tab one at a time, and just make sure it's secure before you go on to the next. And it's easy to reach in and apply pressure. And I do use a quick drying glue on this particular project. If you've watched my other videos, most of the time I do use Scotch Quick Dry. Sometimes I don't. It just depends if I want a little more wiggle room with the drying time. But this dries pretty quick, so I do like to use it for this purpose. And you know, I'm not afraid to say I always have a little wet paper towel. Sometimes it makes it into the shots a little bit more than others, but to wipe up the excess glue. So just go ahead and watch while we add the remaining tabs. So here we are on the last tab. So just go ahead and glue it on like we had all the other tabs. And there's only two other places that we'll have to attach. And that'll be that last little tab on the edge and this edge piece. So if you do have a fine tip glue dispenser, this helps. Just add tab to that last tab and then carefully close it. I only kept it open. You could close it, but I kept it open to make it easier to attach those tabs on the inside. So just kind of line up that edge with the tab fold and just rub it gently to apply pressure and apply pressure from within as well. That little piece of paper came up. I used a really thin paper for my panels, so it did edge a little bit. That's at least it closes that side, so we just have this one little tab inside to add glue to and just fold over. It's similar to when you attach the edge piece. Let's go ahead and add glue to it and just apply pressure to complete that edge. Then we can go on to the next part after we have this top piece done. So similar to the first piece, this is the middle piece. We want to fold on the scores. And naturally the score, you want to score down usually, but for this, these little tabs at the top, you want to kind of pull them back. Once you fold them down to help score them, to fold them on the scores, pull them back towards you. This will be helpful to attach it to that top piece. So as we did with the top, we'll add those panels on first before we attach that middle piece to the top of the tree. So once we get that last piece on, we will actually glue that whole section together before we even attach it to the top piece. So we go ahead and add glue to that side tab and line up that other edge to the tab fold. Make sure it lines on the bottom and top. And then just go ahead and apply pressure to make sure that it stays. And then we'll proceed to add that to the top piece. So we'll glue it with those little tabs on the top, and those tabs will be glued underneath to each of the edges. So go ahead and add glue to that one tab first, and we always do that one tab first just to anchor it. And then go ahead and insert it, and you're going to just flip the tab over. So the tab aligned or actually sits on that edge inside. So that's where it's gluing. But you just want to make sure before you do that, make sure that all the folds, the panel edges are aligned on the top and bottom. And then we'll just continue to glue the remaining tabs the same way. I do have fast drying glue, so you can do them all at once if you like. If you do use this glue, you want to do it pretty quickly. So I just went opposite of the one that I attached first, just to have another anchor point on the other side and to align it properly so all those panels are aligned. And then just went around and kind of held them for 2 to 3 seconds each. This is sped up a little bit, and applying pressure from within with my fingers and also on the outside. And I did it multiple times just to make sure, and if for some reason it didn't go, you could always kind of flip the tab back and add glue. That's it. Then for this step, this is the bottom edge of the middle piece, and you see we're scoring it. That little middle piece that I'm kind of scoring back will be the part that goes into the bottom box portion, which is the third level. So when we're folding these, just know that's why I'm folding it the way that I'm folding it. So let's go ahead and just glue it together real quick. Because of the scores, I can't just cut it out that way, all those little scores. So the little tab completed the circular edge. And then before we attach it to the actual middle portion, we're going to add the section that goes into the bottom of the box. So first we have 2 of those pieces that form that edge. So add glue to that little tab on the end, and I know I went out of view here, but there you go. We just want to make one long piece with the scores in it, and this will be attached in that middle portion. So go ahead and add, like we do everything, let's go ahead and anchor it on the first one. So try to make sure the placement is right on here where that edge kind of lines up with the folds, and that one side also aligns to the that section. Once you have that in place, everything should go pretty smooth, and you'll want to continue gluing around on each tab, one tab at a time, making sure that where we fold that section meets kind of like between the panels. If it's off a little bit on that first one, the rest will be off. So the most important thing is getting that first one on properly. And then you just continue to glue it around. It really isn't difficult. It's just patience waiting for the glue to dry. You can see it's forming that little bottom portion that will sit into the bottom of the box, the tree box. I do like my little fine tip glue dispenser. It helps to get into the areas without having to struggle. I do have a link below with that information. So as we get to the end, we will want to kind of insert that last tab in, the end tab, and then glue that last section, because you'll want to glue the very end to the inside of the edge so it's not seen. You can put it on the outside. It's not a huge deal, but a lot of people don't like to see those from outside. So all you would see is a little tab if you chose to put it on the outside. So it's not a huge deal, but most of us that do 3D crafting try to hide as much as possible. That's it. That formulates that bottom edge. And we're going to attach it to that, not the bottom edge, but the middle edge, I should say. The bottom of the top of the box. Then next we want to attach that to the middle piece. So what I'm doing when I turn this around, I'm just trying to line up where the seams are, so at least one side always looks good, just in case. And first we want to anchor that first tab just like we did on other sections. So go ahead and reach inside, apply pressure, make sure it's aligned properly with that panel. You see I didn't have it aligned, so I'm adjusting it. And then you can just apply a lot of pressure just to make sure we get that first one set. And it'll help with the rest of them. And you see how it's attached inside. And then we'll push in the remaining tabs and just attach them one at a time. You could do multiples, but I do, for this one, it's just easier to do one at a time, make sure it's secure, then go on to the next. Because if you do go too quick and your glue doesn't set, you'll just pull off the previous tabs. Especially with an item that's shaped like this. Then you always notice that I have my handy dandy wet paper towel that I need to pick up the excess glue. because I'm admittedly not the cleanest of glue user. So go ahead and continue around. Be patient with yourself when you're doing these kind of projects. Kind of skipped ahead here so we can go past a couple tabs, but you could always pause the video. So it does get a little bit difficult in the last couple tabs because there's not as much space to apply glue to the tabs as we get most of them glued on. So I would highly recommend investing in, if you're not getting this one, but a glue bottle with a fine tip on it. You kind of can get it in once it's secure. You can get other tips in there. It's just easier if you have a little fine tip. I usually do the last two all at once because it's just easier to push them in. And once we get these done, the top portion of the box is completed. We just have to finish the bottom portion now. Now that we've done the top portion, the bottom's a little bit easier because you've done this repetition. But first, because the bottom is so large, we have to glue together the two pieces to make the bottom portion of the box. So as we've done before, go ahead and glue that tab underneath and align that tab fold with the edge. And then as we had the other two levels, we will add all the panels prior to assembling the bottom of the box. And then just like we did the middle piece, we want to wrap around this the bottom portion and glue that area first. So you have the bottom tree portion done, so we'll be ready to attach the bottom panel. So go ahead and line that up to the tab fold. And then once you have that on, kind of jumped up a little bit there. Let's go ahead and anchor that bottom panel piece. So we'll just add that bottom panel, just make sure that the edges, it fits perfectly into that section on that tab. And then we want to fold all those tabs out because we'll be gluing them onto the bottom piece. This does get a little bit difficult because it's large. If it were smaller, I'd do a different way, but this way we have to kind of glue each tab at a time. So I'm going to do the opposite tab of what I just anchored. So it'll anchor the panel in place. Now it might be a little bit awkward because it pushes in easily, but you'll want to kind of fold down a little bit, making sure it doesn't move too much. And I'm showing you all this so you can see that it takes a little patience. But I rubbed it just a little bit to get it anchored a little bit so I can get pressure from inside, but I wanted to make sure it was in the right position before I continued. And then I could really apply pressure from within. But I didn't want to do anything until I knew it was in the right position and somewhat secure with a little bit of glue. Then the rest of them, you just want to go around and glue each one, again making sure that it folds over on the correct section without shifting. It's not as difficult once you get those two tabs secure. And then usually I just fold them over. One at a time is better than two. I did two here. And then apply pressure from within. You see I'm rubbing them with my finger, and then I'll flip it over and reach inside to apply additional pressure against the table. Sometimes when I'm videotaping these, I'm thinking the best way is the way I'm doing it, but it's not quite. So rather than retaping it, just showing you what not to do in circumstances. We're not perfect. And really, I think this is the hardest part of the assembly in a way, because it's a little flimsy on the bottom. If you wanted to, I didn't do it on this one, but if you wanted to, you could always cut another panel for the bottom panel shape. You could always cut another one and put it on the bottom if you didn't want to see those tabs. For me, I don't think it's that necessary because most people don't flip them upside down. But if you are particular about that, that's what I do, and maybe size it down just a little bit so it's easy to so it can't be seen. It's easy to attach. Sometimes I add those extra files, sometimes I don't. For this one, it's just easier just to cut another one if you'd like. We're almost done, and this is going to be the end of it. And I can't stress enough just to put your fingers in and apply pressure on those tabs you glued, and that will keep it together well. That's what it looks like. Then here's what it looks like when it's put together, and it slides in easily, so you can put a little small gift. I hope that helps with the assembly. Thanks for watching.